All right, welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to have our last day to get ready to start proofs. So tomorrow we'll be starting proofs. It's so important that you're watching and listening to these videos and taking these notes down. All right, so before we start proving things, we're going to be proving that two triangles are congruent, that they're the same size. So it's important that we understand what that means, what it means to be for two triangles to be congruent. It would help if I go up to the notes. So we're actually starting on page 10. Page 10 in your notes. So 4-3 congruent triangles. All right, and remember a lot of times congruent, instead of writing the word, we'll just use the symbol. All right, so two polygons are, which could be two triangles, two squares, it could be anything, as long as it's a closed figure, and we'll talk more about those. But two polygons are congruent if and only if all corresponding angles are congruent, so all matching angles are congruent, and all corresponding or matching sides are congruent. So that means all the angles and all the sides are the same size in both. Okay, so this is your typical congruent statement. Triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. So I'm going to first draw a picture so we can talk about this. I'm going to have you draw two triangles. Try to make them look alike. If they're not perfect, it's okay. So I'm just going to say A, B, C, D, E, F. And I want you to do the same. If you need to pause the video at any point, you can. All right, now sometimes they're not going to be lined up perfectly. It might be turned. For example, these two, they're congruent triangles, but one's been rotated a little bit. All right, so keep that in mind. But what's important is this congruent statement. All right, so that means angle A would match with angle D because they're both the first letter in this congruency statement. B would match, and I'm going to use two lines, E. And again, not because they're both in the top of the picture, but because they're both the middle letter. And then C would match F. And I'm going to use 3. All right, so basically what you have here are 3 sets of congruent angles and 3 sets of congruent sides. So we're going to write out what those are. So angle A is congruent to angle D. Angle B is congruent to angle E. And angle C is congruent to angle F. And again, we find that order right here in this congruency statement. Now let's talk about sides. AB would match DE. BC would be congruent to EF. And AC is the same as DF. Should be putting our segments over top. Now, the thing is, you could say CA, but if you switch the order, you'd have to change this to FD. All right, so if I say AB, since I did first then second, I have to say DE, even though, AB is the same as BA, it's the same segment. When we're talking about similarity and congruency, you want to make sure to have the same order. All right, so let's try some examples. It's important to draw a picture. So ABC is congruent to JKL. So I'm going to draw that so they're right next to each other. Two congruent triangles don't look exactly the same, but that's okay. Make sure the letters are. So ABC, and then I'd have JKL. Don't try and get fancy and turn them because it gets confusing. So AB is 2x plus 12. And that would match JK, which is 4x minus 50. See, AB, JK, since they're the first two letters, they match. So if they are equal to each other, set them equal. All right, I'm going to do the 4x minus 50 first equals 2x plus 12. You can write it either way, but if the larger x is on the left-hand side, it makes it easier to solve. All right, so for some, maybe you don't need to do that. 4x minus 2x is 2x, minus 50 equals 12. Add 50. 2x equals 62. Divide by 2. X equals 31. And it did say find x. And then it said to find AB. All right, so AB is 2 times x plus 12. 2 times 31 plus 12. 62 plus 12 equals 74. And it's not degrees, it's the length of a side. Do not put a degree symbol there. Okay, now this one's drawn for you, but I need you to notice something. That it's been rotated, so you need to make sure you match the correct thing. So DEF is congruent to LMN. Find each value. Okay, well, there's a couple of things that we have to do. We have to find the measure of angle L, but I don't see the measure of angle D, so I can't do that yet. But what you do have, F matches N. They're both the last letter. So let's start there. Fy, we'll just find what we can. Or 5y equals 120. Divide by 5. Y equals 5 goes in, or 12 goes in. 5 goes into 12 twice. Remainder 24. Okay. So that would help us find EF, right? EF is right here. So it's 1.5 times y, we just found to be 24, plus 1.3. All right, so let's use our calculator. 1.5 times 24 plus 1.3. 37.3. And again, that is a side length. Do not put a degree symbol on there. All right, now for L is the next thing that we need to find. Well, L is x. We don't have an x yet, and there's nothing at D, so I can't set up an equation there. But what I do notice, ED matches ML, right? Look at ED, ML. So if I set up the equation 2x plus 3 equals 53, right, those two sides equal each other, you can find x. 2x equals 50, divide by 2, x is 25. So now if I want to find the measure of angle L, that's x plus 15. 25 plus 15 is going to be 40. It is an angle, so we're going to label it with degrees. All right, so you got to look for things in the picture. Sometimes you can't go right in the order you want to. Look and see what they give you. All right, let's do a couple more, and we will get more practice in tomorrow in class. It's nice that we have, kind of get to do this twice with the video and then with class. You get the extra practice. All right, so CDE, I don't see a picture, so I'm not even going to read the rest of the question. I'm going to draw my picture and get it ready. CDE, and no, it doesn't matter where I put CDE, but I do need to make sure whatever I decide on the first triangle that I match it over here. HIJ. Okay, so now we're dealing with sides. So DE is 9x. DE is going to match IJ, which is 7x plus 3. Find x and DE. Well, this is another easy one. They're equal to each other. They're matching. So 9x equals 7x plus 3. Subtract your 7x. And again, if you need to pause it all during these videos, feel free. That's the nice part about having your notes as a video. You don't have to try and keep up in class. All right, divide by 2. X equals 1.5. All right, you could also leave it as 3 halves. That's fine. DE, 9 times X, 9 times 1.5. Remember, if you're not sure, don't just guess. Throw it into the calculator. Or even if you think you know, just double check. 13.5. Decimals are okay. Again, it's not degrees. They are not angles. All right, last two. Find the value of X. Well, first of all, you can see that in this picture, Q matches B, S matches A based on the markings, right? So S would be 45, Q would be 80. So if we want to figure out the other angle, we know they all add up to 180, so we'll set it up. 5x plus 45 plus 80 equals 180. All right, so we'll add those together and subtract from 180. So 45 and 80 is going to give us plus 125. Subtract 125. So 5x equals 55. Divide by 5. And x equals 11. And 5 times 11 would be 55. 55, 45, and 80 all add up to 180. So you're good. Same thing over here. Figure out your matching. Ooh, we got x's and y's. This one's a little tricky. All right, so let's see what we got to work with. Actually, we might be waiting on this guy because this is a systems question and we are not working on systems yet. Actually, we're going to skip that. We'll look at this later on when I talk to you about solving for x and y. And then we'll talk about it because you have to use systems of equations and we're not throwing those in just yet. So we'll stop there. All right, so that's it for the notes today. Tomorrow we'll be working on the practice. So if you want to get a head start, you certainly can on pages 12 and 13. Ignore the ones that are circled. It doesn't mean that you just do those. You're doing all the questions on these 2 pages. All right. If you have questions, as always, stop in to the math lab or stop in and see me. Have a great day.